Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Jaya Kishor Kishori, Jaya Kishor Kishori, Jaya Kishor Kishori, Jaya Kishor Kishori. Jaya Jai Jagannath, Jaya Jai Jagannath, Jaya Jai Baladev, Jaya Jai Subhadra. Jaya Jai Baladev, Jaya Jai Subhadra. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnu Padaya Paramahamsa Parivegacharya Astata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Padaya Paramhamsa Parivegacharya Astata His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the sample of devotees. All glories to the sample of devotees. All glories to the sample of devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharya Vanchakalpataru Vyascha Kripasindu Vijagacha Patinam Bhagavate Vaishnavya Namo Namo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 13, entitled Brahma Stealing the Boys and Calves, verse 14. Ityuktva Dari Kunja Gahare Jatma Vatsakan Vichintvan Bhagavan Krishnaha Sapani Kavalo Yayau Ityuktva Dari Kunja Gahparesh Atma Vatsakan Vichintvan Bhagavan Krishnaha Sapani Kavalo Yayau. One more time. Iti Yuktva Dari Kunja Gahvaresh Atma Vatsakan Vichinvan Bhagavan Krishna Sapani Kabalo Yayau. Itik Tvadri Dari Kunja. Gahvaresh Atma Vatsakan. Vichinvan Bhagavan Krishna. Sapani Kabalo Yayo. Thank you for chanting. Word by word translation. Iti uktva. Saying this, let me bring your calves personally. Adri Dari Kunja Gahvareshu. Everywhere in the mountains, the mountain caves, the bushes and narrow places. Atma Vatsakan, the calves belonging to his own personal friends. Vichinvan, searching out. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Sapani Kavalaha, carrying his yogurt and rice in his hand. Yayao, started out. Translation. Let me go and search for the calves, Krishna said. Don't disturb your enjoyment. Then, carrying his yogurt and rice in his hand, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, immediately went out to search for the calves of his friends. To please his friends, he began searching in all the mountains, mountain caves, bushes, and narrow passages. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Vedas, Svetasvara Upanishad 6.8, assert that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to do personally. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Because he is doing everything through his energies and potencies. Parasya saktir vividhaiva shruyate. Nonetheless, here we see that he took personal care to find the calves of his friends. This was Krishna's causeless mercy. Maya dyakshana praktihi suyate sacharacharam. All the affairs of the entire world and the entire cosmic manifestation are working under his direction through his different energies. Still, when there's a need to take care of his friends, he does this personally. Krishna assured his friends, don't be afraid. I'm going to personally search for your calves. This was Krishna's causeless mercy. Om Jnana Tiramamdashi. Jnananjaya Shalakaya Chakshurimitam Jnana Tasmaya Shubha. Sri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Sthapitam Jnana Svayambhupam Kadamaham Dati Svapadantika. Manchakala Patarabhascha Payanam Parinabhi Vaishnava. Thank you for coming this morning to the class, and hope you're doing well in Krishna consciousness. Hope everything is great. And today's verse talks about Krishna's causeless mercy and special nature that we will discuss a little bit today. You can see the true nature of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gives this example in Bhagavad Gita somewhere, that a high court judge is very formal and in charge of the court proceedings, and he may do that job for many hours, but when he comes home, he takes off his black uniform, forgot what it's called, I think toga, and then he plays with his children, and he's not in the mood to judge them or correct them. He's just playing with his children, and then that is his true personality. He may perform a certain job out there and maintain his family or serve the society, but when he gets home, he's quite different. He reveals his true nature. And actually yesterday, in family life, sometimes I learn from how I could learn more often from my family life. My son sometimes wants to play with me, so yesterday he was trying to, tag me by my shirt, like, let's go and play, and I was trying to write up this outline for the lecture and do other things for my job, and then I really wanted to play with him, but it's sometimes very hard, and unlike Krishna, no one will do some jobs automatically for me, so I have to get my work done. But really inside, I would like to play with my children more, so I can see that, I can imagine that Krishna could have, because we are made in the image of God, and we're just minor parts of God. So I can relate to this example of Srila Prabhupada as well, and can see that Krishna has this nature that he wants to play with his friends as a friend, lover, and rather than being in charge of the material world, which he is, he's the Supreme Father and in charge of the creation, but his true nature is to actually play on an equal level with his servants in the spiritual world. That is a very deep subject matter, a very elevated level of spiritual service. So in today's lecture, I like to focus on Krishna's special nature that makes him so attractive, and nature of Bhakti Yoga. First of all, Krishna, what I think is very special about Krishna is that he gives us free will and choice. He says in Bhagavad Gita 4:11, as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, but we have a choice. Actually, I'll read the Sanskrit. I think you like when I read Sanskrit. Always sounds better. Ye yata mam prapadyante tam shtathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushyak partha sarvashaha. So we have a choice to surrender in different ways. We can surrender to our desires and be here in the material world trying to fulfill our desires. We can surrender to Krishna. He gives us a choice, just like he gives a choice to Arjuna. He says, I explained everything to you. This is the situation now. It is up to you to decide what you would like to do. So Krishna is a very good teacher. He doesn't force. He encourages, presents different options, and then he leaves us our choice, which is very, very cool, very, very beautiful. And then there can be no love if we're forced to surrender to Krishna or into service. There's no question of love. We cannot do it. We should not do it out of fear. It's not the best, and we should not be forced. Second of all, first of all, Krishna gives us free will to love, and second of all, he has amazing qualities that are beyond comparison. Krishna's name Krishna means all attractive, so he attracts different living entities by his divine qualities, and I like to go to Nectar of Devotion, and Srila Rupa Goswami enumerates he gives a shortened list of Krishna's qualities, and the list is as follows. Krishna, his entire body is very beautiful. He is marked with all auspicious characteristics. He's effulgent, strong, ever youthful, truthful, able to talk pleasingly, highly learned, a genius, expert, grateful, firmly determined, an expert judge of times and circumstances, sees and speaks on the authority of Vedas or scriptures, pure, self-controlled, forgiving, grave, self-satisfied, possessing equilibrium, magnanimous, religious, heroic, compassionate, respectful, gentle, liberal, the protector of surrendered souls, the well-wisher of devotees, controlled by love, most powerful, all famous, popular, partial to devotees, very attractive to all women, all worshipable, all opulent, all honorable, the supreme controller. And further, in the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions Lord Krishna, that Lord Krishna possesses an additional 14 unique traits as follows. So I'll read these 14 traits over here. He's changeless, all cognizant, ever fresh, has an eternal, blissful body. Krishna possesses all mystic perfections and has inconceivable potency. Innumerable universes emanate from his body. He's the source, original source of all incarnations. Krishnastu Bhagavan Svaya. He gives salvation even to the enemies he kills. He attracts liberated souls and performs a wonderful variety of pastimes, especially in his childhood. He is surrounded by devotees endowed with love of Godhead. He can attract all the living entities in the universes by playing his flute. He has such excellent beauty, he cannot be rivaled anywhere in creation. Wow. So many qualities, just reading about them makes you want to serve Krishna. Just reading about those qualities. Who would not like to serve Krishna? If you really appreciate those qualities in anyone and God, you are more inspired to serve. So we have the free will and free will to love. We have Krishna's qualities that are beyond comparison. And the third item that I'd like to discuss is that Krishna takes personal care of his devotees. You can read in this purport, Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna took personal care to find the calves of his friends, and further down in the purport he says that when there is a need to take care of his friends, he does so personally, very special. And then Srila Prabhupada says that this is Krishna's causeless mercy. It's like sometimes, and this example came to my mind yesterday. Sometimes in family life we can see that children are not only taken care of by the parents, but also by grandparents and the teachers. They're all, and other relatives. They're all competent to take care of the children. However, when there may be some situation, very intense emergency situation, the parents may actually take over, and actually the grandparents, it is known that grandparents can even spoil their grandchildren. So the parents, although all are the well-wishers, you know, the teachers, the relatives and grandparents are all well-wishers of the children. It is known that the parents know best, and sometimes they take over. They even admonish the grandparents, and they take over. They know They wish their children the best, and they also know what's the best for their children. Similarly, Krishna has the same feeling for the conditioned souls. We may be taking care of, let's say, this relates to also non-devotees, especially non-devotees, all the living entities, conditioned living entities in the material world. They may be taken care of by the demigods and by the laws of karma, by the supreme justice, of the universe, and that is fine. However, Krishna is always looking. He's looking forward to helping those conditioned souls who turn to him for help, ask him for help. He'd be more than excited to help us out. And I'm talking here about the non-devotees, the conditioned souls in general. There's so many billions and billions and billions of living entities who are just favored by the demigods or the laws of karma. Sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's not pleasant. It's up and down. But Krishna is so willing to help us, but we just have to use our free will to turn to him. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18:66, just surrender unto me, abandon all varieties of concoctions, and just surrender unto me, and I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So we just need to turn to Krishna and follow his instructions. And it is not so difficult. It is not so difficult. It can happen within a moment. Yesterday, once again, I was trying to work on this outline for the lecture, and I was by the computer, and I was also checking email for my work and different things. But my main goal was to finish this outline. And then it was windy outside, and my son Nita, he comes by my side and he tags me by my shirt, and he says, "Dad, let's go fly a kite. Let's go fly a kite." And I'm like, what? Why do you want to do it now? Because it's windy, it's nice weather. And we did have a kite somewhere hidden outside. So I was like, oh, well, I have to finish this, but maybe I can postpone it. Maybe I can make my son a little happy. Maybe I can learn something from this experience. Maybe I can use it in the lecture. So we went outside. It was very windy. So I went to the shed and got the kite out. And so we're trying to fly it. I tried it. He tried it. We had to run. Take the kite and run and wait for the wind to pick up. So we had to wait for an opportune moment and start running, and the wind will take the kite. And the quality of the kite was not so good. It was from last season, so it was a little bit broken up. Not a very high quality kite. So nevertheless, there was some frustration. Mostly my son was frustrated, and I was like, I knew it would happen, but I wanted to give him a chance to yes, I'll go with you. I'm going to support you in your desire. Now let's go fly a kite. But there was some frustration. So overall, it was not a very happy experience. We moved on to something else, and I went back to working on my lecture. I'm on the outline for my lecture, but I'm trying to bring this example. When I kind of what came to my mind was that material endeavors are much like flying a kite. We need so many things to be successful in material endeavors. First of all, we need the ability to walk and run a little bit. Okay, we need to be able to do things, and then we need a decent quality kite, not a broken kite or half-broken kite like what I had yesterday and trying to fly it. And we also need a favorable blow of wind. We need favorable winds. So we need to be lucky. We need to be, know people. We need to have the ability to create something, to run our material endeavors, material projects. So I was trying to think, why is it so difficult, right? And I was trying to come up with different reasons, and I was thinking, okay, we need this strong wind. You need to run fast. I need to know how to fly it a little bit. You know, the kite has to be good quality. And then I went back to my lecture and thinking about lecture, and devotional service doesn't have to be like this, because Krishna helps us so much. He takes initiative to help us. It doesn't matter our ability level, what we have accomplished so far, by our karma, what we have accumulated. Are we rich? Are we educated? It does not matter. When I came to Krishna consciousness years ago, my Guru Maharaj gave me this example. I think Srila Prabhupada, actually it was from Srila Prabhupada, if I'm not mistaken, and he said that you take one step toward Krishna and he will take 100 steps towards you. It's not like that we have to become very educated or very detached or very skillful in different types of services to be able to impress Krishna and be able to serve him. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that, the son of Kunti, as an offering to me. You know, it's very encompassing, all-encompassing instruction that whatever you do, you purify, adjust it a little bit, and you do it for Krishna. And then he's satisfied with just a little bit, as long as you have this willingness, you're using your free will to turn your attention and emotion, feeling to Krishna. He says, just offer me a leaf, a water, fruit or water, leaf, water, and then I will accept it. You offer it with your feeling, with emotion. So we don't need that much. We don't need to be very skillful at flying our kite. We don't need. And obviously, when we start, Krishna will provide according to our willingness to advance and our desire. He will provide the things that we may need for the service in due course of time. I'll give you a couple more examples from my life when I was that kind of show how Krishna takes initiative, even though you may not be qualified in many different ways. Actually, we are disqualified in many different ways. And many people outside, by material estimation, they are disqualified, but by Krishna's and Lord Chaitanya's estimation, by Lord Nityananda's estimation, everyone is qualified to take up this process. So I remember when I came to Krishna consciousness in the beginning, I started reading Bhagavad Gita, and then I really wanted to read Srimad Bhagavatam so much. But I couldn't spend a lot of time at the temple, and somehow we didn't have the computer, or it was not available, the Veda base, and I couldn't read Srimad Bhagavatam. And I don't like to read on the computer screen. I like to have an actual book. So I wanted, exactly right. My eyes hurt when I look at the monitor, and it's just hard. And I have to take a break every 15 minutes because my eyes hurt. So I like to read a book, sit somewhere, outside or in the Krishna room and read Srimad Bhagavatam. So I wanted to read Srimad Bhagavatam. I wanted to have it. Unfortunately, it was too expensive for me to get the entire set. And I had this in my heart that I wanted to read it. I wanted to start to read it, every day. And to the temple I would come maybe once a week, maybe, twice a month. So there was not much that I could do. So I was hoping like that for some time, and I had a low-paid job, and I was paying off my school loans, so I couldn't really afford much other than like a small donation here and there for prasadam every Sunday. And it so happened that someone was coming from, some devotee was coming from New Vrindavan, and somehow someone told me that they have a very special on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like 50% off of the original cost, and 50% off. And then so they told me about it because they knew that I was reading Bhagavad Gita. I wanted to read Srimad Bhagavatam, so I said, let me see what I can do. I'm really excited. So I was able to, since it was only 50%, I was able to collect that much money without much difficulty, and I purchased the entire set of Srimad Bhagavatam. I was so excited when this devotee brought it here to the temple, and he had in his trunk, so I had to park my car next to his car, and we were taking out those boxes and putting it in the trunk of my car. It was such a great experience for me. And then I was carefully driving Srimad Bhagavatam home. You know, I actually had to get like some gas because I was running out of gas, so I stopped by the gas station. I think I'm California, I don't know exactly, but I stopped by the gas station, and then while I was getting my gas, I didn't want to waste time, so I opened the trunk and I was checking the boxes, and I was see like if I can maybe see through the box, or like maybe one of them is open, maybe I can see the Srimad Bhagavatam, the cover page. You know, I was really excited. And then I got home and I was taking out those boxes one by one, carrying into my apartment. My parents were like, "Oh, why are you getting more books? You have so many books already. What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is special knowledge from India. This is great. You know, this is I'm going to study this. I might use it for school." You know, I just gave them some answer like that, so they're like, "Okay, it's, as long as it's part of your school, you're fine." And so that was my experience with how Krishna took that initiative to help me out to get that Srimad Bhagavatam that I really wanted to start reading. On another occasion, a few months later, I heard from other devotees that they're going to India, and then this devotee is traveling to India, and that devotee, and they're asking me, "When are you going to go to India?" And I'm like, I've never seen any other temples. I'm only here in Chicago. I didn't even go to New York or Florida. I just know this temple. So there was a year or two went by, and I was building a desire to go to India. Many devotees were coming and going, bringing some prasadam, some pictures, telling stories, and I was really getting the desire to go to India. And it was, from the attachment point of view, it was easier because I was single at that time. It was very easy to just focus on spiritual life. And as my desire to go to India was building up, I was still stuck at that low-paid job, and there was no way I could spend $1,000, $2,000 on a round trip to India, and plus I needed to have some spending money. So what happened is I had this desire in my mind and my heart to go to India, and I was driving a car, and I saw this advertisement for a job, and I felt something like, yes, you should try this. Like, what? My licenses for this expired already last year, and I'm paying off my school loans. You know, I'm really busy. I have this job. I'm making ends meet, but then so I went home. The next day, 2 days later, I was also driving by this place, and I had this feeling, you should try to go in there and then see if you can get a job. And I was like, okay. So it happened again. So I went in there actually, and I talked to these managers. You know, I'm this and that. I have these qualifications. Here's my resume. My licenses are expired though. I don't have a license right now, but I like to try to get this job. And they said, "Oh, no problem. We need people who are, you know, doing a little bit of yoga, and they're doing a little bit of this and that, karate. So why don't you work on your licenses? We hire you right away." So they hired me, and within some months I was making much more Lakshmi. I was able to save within 6 months for a ticket to India, and I traveled to India 3 times. Every year I would go to India for 2 or 3 weeks, and I can see Krishna's hand in this, like how he was helping me. I didn't have qualifications, you know. First of all, I was just learning how to chant and learning some basics, and second of all, I didn't have any money. I was single, paying off school loans, but Krishna helped me to go in closer to him. I took only like half a step, you know. I wanted to do it, but I could not do much, and the rest, all of this was Krishna. So these are some examples from my personal journey, and I'm sure you have many more you have heard from your friends, and you have so many examples yourself. So these are some of the interesting things that can happen on the path of devotional service. And the special nature of Lord Krishna, he's so attractive, and he gives us a free will. He takes personal care of his servants, and no one can take care of us better than Lord Krishna. He is beyond comparison. Very special science of bhakti yoga. It doesn't require much. That's why some people may not believe. Why is it so easy? Externally it may be difficult, but it is so easy because all you require is like some willingness inside. You don't require any qualifications. The qualifications may come later, but these are not disqualifications if you don't possess certain qualities. Yes, I'm coming to the conclusion of this short class, that Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita, verse 22, chapter 9, that Ananyas chintayata mam ye janah parayupashate tasham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamiyaham. But those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. So this is a very encouraging verse for all practicing devotees, and for those who want to become practicing devotees. They may be encouraged by Krishna to just try by willingly serve Krishna and offer him their feelings, and Krishna will take care of the rest. So as we walk with faith, following the ninefold process of devotional service, we know that Krishna will do the needful for our material necessities and bring us back home, no matter how obscured our vision may be at times. He's the perfect guide and our best friend. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'll be more happy to answer. Questions or comments? Short class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for your class.
Hare Krishna.
You made a lot of wonderful points. I'm kind of shooting from the hip. Some of my notes are not as clear as previously, but I'll do my best. And that was the essence of your class. If we do our best, then we don't need too many qualifications. That's the one main point I really appreciate about your class. Krishna always appreciates you trying your best. Of course, everyone else may not appreciate that, but as long as Krishna appreciates it, that's all that matters. And so you were making a point that when you were flying the kite with your son, you made the point that we needed all kinds of favorable conditions to be a success in just flying the kite, something as simple as that. And when you made that point, it brings to mind one verse that I was reading recently in Canto 1, chapter 14. I believe verse 9, but it's definitely in the 14th chapter of the first canto, where King Yudhisthira Maharaj, well, basically, before I mention this verse, but basically one thing I was discussing with devotees recently, actually, and one point I always keep in mind is that I always ask them the question, why is one farmer successful and another farmer unsuccessful? They may have the same state-of-the-art technology. One farmer may be successful in Illinois, but another farmer may be unsuccessful in California. Right. Why is that? And they have all the state-of-the-art technology to cultivate the land, to get rid of the pests, the bugs, so many things, so many favorable conditions, the exact same technology. So why is one favorable? Why is one successful, and why is another successful? It is only due to the rain of mercy.
The rain of mercy.
And sometimes, you know, Krishna gives us a rain of mercy, and sometimes he gives us a drought to teach us different lessons. And so this verse from the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter 14, verse 9, I believe, King Yudhisthira Maharaj, he says, the only reason I'm successful at defeating my enemies, the only reason I'm successful at so much opulence, good wives, good family, anything I'm a success at is only due to the rain of Krishna's mercy. And he could take that away. And I really appreciated your point regarding the fact that when you were endeavoring spiritually, Krishna always made some arrangement for you. And we see, on the other hand, sometimes when we're endeavoring materially, Krishna may prevent the rain of mercy. He even needs the rain of Krishna's mercy.
Right.
Just like Hiranyakashipu, he had a endeavor. His endeavor was to kill Prahlad.
Right.
And Krishna prevented the rain of his mercy. He needed the rain of Krishna's mercy to kill Prahlad. And so sometimes I like to relate this, generally speaking, Hiranyakashipu thought he was a supreme controller because he thought he had control over who lives and who dies. And the results of not properly hearing Bhagavatam is that we're under the molds. We also think we're in control. We may not try to kill others, but we also think we have control over whose reputation lives and whose reputation dies. But even to kill somebody's reputation, you require the rain of Krishna's mercy.
Yes.
And Krishna may not always give that rain of mercy, but sometimes he will give that rain of mercy to so-called kill people's reputation. He may use our demoniac qualities to expand Krishna consciousness. For example, the one thing I appreciate about when Prabhupada came to the West, his disciples told Srila Prabhupada, they're slandering Hare Krishna in the newspapers. Prabhupada was like, fantastic. They mentioned Hare Krishna. Free publicity. This is great. And then they was like surprised because nobody, especially in the hippie days, nobody likes to be told what to do, that this is forbidden. This movement is forbidden. Don't do it. No, we're definitely doing it. And they actually did more to spread Krishna consciousness than probably Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. And so sometimes Krishna may use our demoniac qualities to, you know, to use some good. But in the end, we're not doing ourselves any good by having these demoniac qualities at the same time. But Krishna could use it if we want to have that endeavor.
Sure.
So that's one point I keep in mind. So if I had to ask a question, my question was, a pastime that Lord Chaitanya asked to one of his very poor devotees, Kulaveshra Sridhar. Lord Chaitanya told Kulaveshra Sridhar, my dear Kulaveshra Sridhar, you're so poor. You have holes in your clothes. You don't even have sufficient food every day. And there's a hole in your hut. Why are you worshiping Krishna? Because even demigod worshippers and atheists, they don't worship Krishna, but they're rich. So why don't you give up this Krishna worship? So he was testing the faith of Kulaveshra Sridhar. I don't know the exact same answer, but essentially it was to the effect that if we have material wealth on the outside, but if we don't have spiritual wealth on the inside, then at the minimum, we can't keep our peace of mind and happiness. And at maximum, we can't keep our family, our friends, and ultimately our freedom. Just like politicians, they have material wealth on the outside, but because they don't have the wealth on the inside, they're put in jail and they lose their friends, their family. So there's a nice quote. It says, you would never invite a thief into your house. So why would you allow thoughts that steal your joy to make themselves a home in your mind? And so Hiranyakashipu, when he was approaching Prahlad, he had a thief that stole his peace of mind, vengeance. And because of this thief stole his wealth on the inside, his peace of mind, he committed abominable activities toward Prahlad, and that led to his demise. In much the same way, if we don't have the spiritual wealth, if we're not endeavoring it, then it's only a matter of time before anything materially we stand for crumbles. So my question is that how can we develop the faith when we're going through a difficulty in Krishna consciousness, you know, that Krishna is in control? Why am I respecting others all the time, you know? Why don't I live a life of, you know, like in the material world, people go to church, people are spiritual, and they were like, all these criminals are flourishing. They think that way. You know, I'm sitting here worshiping God, and I'm struggling to pay my bills. I'm tired of respecting people. I'm tired of living a life of integrity. Let me, you know, why am I in Krishna consciousness? Why am I doing anything spiritual? Let me go bow down to some boss. Just like in the Bible, the devil went to Jesus and says, if you bow down to me, then I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world. So sometimes in our spiritual life, that opportunity comes. Why are you? So my question is, you know, how can we develop the faith that Krishna is in control when we're going through a very difficult time? So maybe you could expand on that point.
Wow.
And how to maintain our integrity and not, you know, succumb to people's bribes, or if I pay you this, if you criticize this devotee, slander on do this, I'll pay you such and such money. Or in the material world, you know, people will pay it off to kill people even. Wow. So how can we not succumb to this demoniac mentality, because we're not seeing Krishna's material mercy, you know, in a form of, you know, wealth, material.
Sure. This is a very valid point. You made a lot of points, Prabhu, and very good question. I'm not sure how to answer it completely, but I can maybe say something. How to maintain integrity in difficult times, how to maintain strong faith when times are difficult. I think I hinted at that maybe a few months ago. I think I quoted from Bhakti Tirtha Swami's spiritual warrior about the dark night of the soul, which was every true spiritualist will be tested at one point. We may be tested at the beginner level, we may be tested at the more intermediate level and the advanced level. And Bhakti Tirtha Swami describes the dark night of the soul. So maybe it's not as, maybe it's more extreme than what you're describing, but let's take it to the extreme. Let's say everything is falling apart, and you know, we don't have a job, and this and that, and our friends are leaving us. We're getting sick. Let's take it to the extreme. It's easier said than done, obviously. But Bhakti Tirtha Swami describes that. I remember from his book that it's a good thing to remember that we may be tired inside of this struggle, but we can appreciate appreciate the fact that we are so tired only because we have come so far. So this is a good thing to appreciate. You know, just like when you, and I could immediately relate to it, because I was always into exercise and running marathons and doing some competition. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. And it was always about at every level you're tested. You know, you're tested for a white belt, you're tested white belt and blue stripe, you're tested for this, you're tested at school. It's all about tests. So in spiritual life, there is also a test. Krishna knows where we're at. Krishna knows, but we don't know. See, the problem is Krishna sees everything, but he wants us to see exactly what we need to give up or what we need to go through. So when we see ourselves and the difficulties that we have inside, then it'll be easier for us to make a decision. Yes, I see it clearly now. Now let me give it up, or let me not get involved with this. But unless we come to this point where we see what the difficulty is inside, then we cannot go beyond. And then the material circumstances that surround us, you know, the work environment, the family environment, and any kind of environment that's, you know, beyond or that's outside of the pure process of devotional service, that environment may create different types of pressures on our mind and our heart. And it is, if we remain humble and we appreciate that it's coming from Krishna, then we will be able to see what we need to give up, what we need to what kind of decisions we need to make within ourselves to take the next step. What Krishna is trying to do is trying to make us see what we need to do with our desires, and which desires are not to be fed with more nutrients. You know, you don't want to feed more of the bad desires. You want to feed the good desires. So unless we see that, we cannot move on. So just like a good coach, Krishna is the best coach. He can tell you, this is the situation and this is what you're going through, but this is exactly why you're going through this, and this is what you need to feel in order to go beyond these feelings, you know, beyond these obstacles. And then when you appreciate it inside the heart, the external circumstances will not matter so much. When you learn the lesson inside, within, the externals will not matter that much. But to get to that point, it takes time, and it takes diligent effort within to understand what Krishna is trying to tell us. And in that process, we may need help of senior God brothers. We may need, if you don't have a spiritual master, Diksha Guru, then you can take advice take counsel from God brothers, senior God brothers, you know. Take guidance from Srila Prabhupada's books, you know. That may be required most of the time. Sometimes we cannot have the right, you know, decision. We cannot have the right decision making by ourselves. It really depends. But some things we can determine. We can determine ourselves, and then we can always confirm that with your God brothers, with your seniors who have been in the movement longer. You know, that is helpful. That's recommended. You cannot solve everything yourself. It's not possible. Even in material affairs, you cannot do everything yourself. So in spiritual life, you have to take advantage of senior God brothers and your guru, Srila Prabhupada's books. But we all will be tested at one point, and we all need different types of tests. You know, testing for this desire, testing for that desire. The situations will be arranged in such a way that certain desires that we need to overcome will be placed clearly in front of our eyes, and we're like, oh, okay, wow. And then you're like, okay, then I'm not going to cultivate this desire. I'm going to focus on this. So you have to stay face to face with your weaknesses, and then that's how you can go beyond that. Just like in martial arts, you know, true fighters, they face their opponent. They don't hide anything. They stand, look the opponent in the eye, and fight. So you have to see the opponent. You don't want to be hiding behind your fears and trying different tricks. You wanna see it face to face, who you're fighting. So Krishna wants us to see clearly what we need to overcome. See those opponents, those enemies inside the heart. I think Bhakti Tirtha Swami talks about the enemies inside rather than the enemies outside. I hope this is helpful, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, that was very helpful. You always give very wonderful answers, and I'll briefly, since you know, time may be running out, but I'll briefly like to mention one of your answers. Part of your answer you were mentioning, and it reminded me of something Vaishnava Sevananda Prabhu mentioned to me the other day. A very profound point. You were mentioning that the environment puts pressures on us, and there's always a test in everything. Everything requires a test. And one thing that came to mind, one analogy you reminded me of, one of my favorite analogies, that any product that's made, your car, your phone, your clothes, take anything, it has to undergo a test known as quality control.
Quality control, that's right.
And what's the purpose of the test? Why is any product attractive? Because it lasts long. If it doesn't last long, nobody's going to buy the product. And so, and how do they test the product? They put so much pressure on it. They'll break it, put it under fire. They'll do it exactly what Hiranyakashipu did to Prahlad. That's how they do quality control tests. And we see that Prahlad was put under the most severe quality control test to test his qualities. But we see that he was put under so much pressure that he still never cursed his father. On the other hand, Hiranyakashipu, he was put only under a little pressure. Prahlad says, my dear father, I disagree with you. You're not God.
Wow.
Then the quality of his character broke down. So we see the great saints are so attractive because despite so much pressure, the quality of their character, the integrity never breaks down in criticizing. They're always trying to uplift their antagonists. And we see that when we're put under a little pressure like Hiranyakashipu, somebody just judges us or criticizes or disagrees with us. We're ready to file a complaint, you know, call the GBC, call the police. And so Vaishnava Sevananda, to keep things in perspective, he made a very profound point in the glorification of Prabhupada's disciples, especially in New Vrindavan. He was mentioning specifically His Holiness Radhanath Swami and Chandramali Swami and many other, I don't know the other devotees that were living in New Vrindavan, but when they were in New Vrindavan, they had no electricity in the early days in the 70s. They had no electricity. And so when the winter came, they had no running water also. So when electricity came, you know, it might be okay in the summers to take your baths by going to the near lake or whatever. But when they would take baths in the winter, they would have to go outside the ashram, outside. They would also have to, you know, build a hole, you know, do their business outside. But in order to take their bath, they had to take an axe and crush the ice just to get the liquid part and take a bucket and cover their body, you know, in the icy water in the winter.
Wow.
And so Vaishnava Sevananda probably made a very profound point. Usually when the prasadam is not, you know, spiced well enough, where's the manager? You know, this is an outrage. Or, you know, very small, petty things. And so I'll just mention one last point. This is what precisely what Narada Muni says. This is a very important point. In the 10th canto, 10th chapter of the Bhagavatam, the pastime Nalakuvada and Manigriva, Narada Muni says there are two kinds of austerities, voluntary and involuntary. He says that most people are not inclined to do voluntary austerities, so sometimes involuntary, some suffering, you're forced to do austerity. Just like he says, when people are enjoying eating food sumptuously, then they think about petty things. Who's getting more recognition than me? But if you're going through involuntary suffering, if you have cancer, or if you're in New Vrindavan breaking ice and pouring buckets of water, you're not thinking who's getting more attention than me, who criticized me.
Right.
You're thinking I have to get the hell out of here and back in the ashram. And so that's what he says. That's the advantages of doing austerities. You don't make a mountain out of a molehill, but when you're not doing any austerities, you're just eating sumptuously, you know, taking hot showers, you know, and enjoying watching TV. Then you find fault with so many things. And that's the result. You become more demoniac. So that's the benefits of doing austerities. If we don't do voluntary austerities, then the Lord, you know, he'll force us to do. That's going to happen to everyone. Dukkha layam ashashvatam. But it's better to do it voluntarily before we embarrass ourselves, you know, from our aparad. So anyway, thank you for letting me share those points.
Wow. Great points, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.